month. Let's go check on him.
No. Fuck. No. Wrong. Fuck.
Wildland?
Ah! What, Jerry?
The audience is wondering where you've been.
Oh, right. 1 second. So, over the course of the last 2 or 3 months, I've determined something. I mean, over the course of my entire Airsoft career. Airsoft Fields suck. But there is a way we can improve them. Rule number 1 when designing any Airsoft experience is making sure your players have fun. If your players aren't having fun, you're not making any money, and the field can't survive without making profit. Now, another thing when developing your Airsoft field is that you need to make sure that the rules match the field you're playing at. I've seen plenty of fields use rules that will be at home at a CQB arena, at a outdoor game with a very, very large play space, which is not something you want to do. Now, while I enjoy a good walk from time to time on my own, I don't enjoy that in an Airsoft game, and I don't think a lot of players do either. So you really need to consider how big your field is and how far apart the spawns are going to be. The ideal situation is not more than 15 seconds to 20 seconds from the usual frontline position to get back to the respawn zone. Alright audience, put on your thinking caps and pretend that this area back here is your usual Airsoft field. I know there's not a lot of cover out here, it'll make a terrible Airsoft field in real life, but just imagine for a second. Now I'm going to go to your 2 usual respawn spots that I see a lot of fields use because they want to make sure the distance between players is adequate. But here's how I do it. Spawn right here, and a spawn over here. What doing a layout like this provides is ample opportunity to flank to the left and the right with plenty of flanking lanes available to you and your friendlies. But it makes it so that it's not so far to the front lines if you want to get back into that respawn and get into the fight quickly. Now there's a lot of fields that have a lot of room to maneuver and flank and everything like that. There's a lot of fields that want it to feel like, well, Battlefield 4, one of my favorite games. But the thing about Battlefield 4 is that there's instantaneous respawns on vehicles, on other players, and it's really easy to get yourself suited in a new position on the field. Unfortunately, in real life, we have to cover that distance on foot, and I think there's a lot of fields that fail to design their fields around that layout. Say for whatever reason though that you're forced to put your spawns at awkward angles or angles where the players are going to be forced into spawning in very, very far distances away from the battlefield. Well, there is another option. Consider messing with your rules. Back when I was an Airsoft ref at Eagle Freak, I tried my hand at making a few game modes, and one of the game modes was actually designed around making sure that you guys didn't actually have to go back to spawn. It was called Medics. It was one of my favorite game modes. Essentially, anyone and everyone could medic their teammates with an instant tap on the shoulder, and everyone would come back in. What this did was a couple key things. First off, it reduced the trip to respawn. Secondly, it encouraged teamwork because now players had to stick together if they wanted to succeed over their enemies. Another thing that surprised me too, that more Airsoft fields haven't even tried, is actually just making multiple respawn points. Why do you have to have 2? Why not 2 or 3 for each individual team? Even better, if your game mode involves going from point to point or capturing new points, say like a rush style mode from Battlefield 4, you can actually make unlockable respawn points. If you gain the upper hand on a certain objective or something like that, you could unlock a respawn point close to that objective, making your spawns to and from the respawn zone much shorter. And guys, these aren't the only respawn rules you can do. You can get really, really creative with the process. The key takeaway and idea here is to simply minimize the amount of time spent doing the not so fun parts of Airsoft, i.e. walking back to the respawn, and maximize the fun parts of Airsoft, which is the gunfighting. Now let's say you got your rules figured out and your field location and you're gonna be starting designing it. Now, I don't think I need to describe to you guys why Airsoft and paintball is different, but just in case I do, paintball is played at much shorter ranges, which means super long sightlines don't affect the player base nearly as much as they do in Airsoft. I can't tell you how many fields I've seen where they're simply just converted paintball fields. Paintball fields are not Airsoft fields. They can be played in the same field, but usually it's better to strictly design for Airsoft, and it's usually better to strictly design for paintball. Another great rule is make sure you're not adding too much clutter to your field. When designing your field, you're trying to elicit good gameplay. Good gameplay, in my definition, is not sitting in a corner and waiting for someone to walk by to get an easy kill. One of the biggest keys, I think, to making a good field is minimizing the amount of angles that a player must engage from. Take a T-shaped hallway, for instance. If a player has played at the field before, he knows one of 2 things are going to happen to him at the end of the hallway if there is an enemy on the other side. They are either going to be coming from the right or the left, and as a result, he can aim to the left or to the right.
Now add several objects and windows into that area. An enemy could be at any single one of them. This is the problem facing fields with too much clutter. It's far easier to be the person behind one of these objects and pop out and shoot the enemy when there's only one position the enemy likely can come from, and you could potentially be in any one of these locations.
And now time for one of the most important aspects when considering designing your field, and that's elevation.
You missed, you dickhead.
Elevation can be a great tool when it comes to designing your field. The problem with elevation, though, is it can easily become overpowered given the right circumstances. Your goal as a field designer is to strike the right balance between cover and giving the people that are skyline a little bit of an advantage, but not so much that it breaks the field. Also, in addition, try and eliminate areas that are in shadow or in shade when making elevated positions. You want these players to be forced to make the decision to go up high and risk themselves getting exposed for much more, rather than have them be up there with impunity. And in fact, when it comes to field designing, that's the whole entire point of it anyways. You're trying to force your airsoft players to make important decisions on the field, not let them go with the obvious choice because it's clearly better. Do I go up and try and shoot them there where I'm more exposed, or do I go down where I have a little bit more cover? You're trying to force your players to make these decisions on the battlefield and make sure that they're not going for the easy option, i.e. sticking in one spot and hoping someone walks by. So guys, in review, if you can't actually go and make your own field on your own and you're using a paintball field or something like that, tailor your rules to your field. Number 2, don't be afraid to mess with your spawn rules or spawn locations, and always be willing to try something new at your field. Try and reduce clutter on your field. You don't want your field to look messy, and by doing so, you'll reduce the amount of campers and encourage a more rushing style of play. Reduce the amount of angles players can be shot from. When making elevated positions, make sure they are well lit, don't have a lot of clutter, and finally are exposed to enemy fire. Being elevated is an advantage in and of itself. Thank you all very much for watching, and I really do want to apologize for kind of the latest update / it taking forever to get more content out. I was very caught up with a lot of things. For starters, I graduated college, woohoo! So that might mean a couple more videos. And in addition, we recently had our dog pass away, and we were kind of dealing with trauma of that, and that recently happened. That happened within the last week. And lots of other stuff has been happening in my life. So that's kind of why I decided to take a short break from the YouTube business. But I should be getting back to it soon. I'm gonna maybe have some gameplay from my property pretty soon here. And in addition, I'm gonna be going to a paintball station game. They're a Halloween game. I should be headed to that. And I just recently fixed my airsoft gun, and fingers crossed that it's actually going to work consistently. Like the last 3 or 4 times I went out there, I think I've had gun malfunctions and breakdowns and everything like that on the field. So hopefully that's not going to happen. But if you guys want to stay up to date, you of course can subscribe. I know my channel isn't growing very fast anytime soon, but if you want to help with that, you can spread my videos to your friends. In addition, I should be having Jerry back around on the channel more. I know there was a couple people that said they really liked that robot bird character. He's kind of a funny character that I should keep in the videos. But anyways, guys, that's all for now. Have a great day. Don't be a cheater, and that's all, folks.